If you're in for the latest round of commentary, scene, infighting, you will have likely noticed that Chrissie Mayr, a female comedian turned cultural critic, was removed from Nerdrotic's Friday Night Tights show. The proximate cause for this was Chrissie's decision to platform Melanie Mack, the co-host with Jeremy Hambley, and Chrissie's perceived failure to adequately condemn the ongoing accusations of false flagging against the Quartering. Need it be said, Chrissie Mayr did not false flag anyone. She also didn't mass report channels or pull any strings. All she did was have an opinion and also interview someone tied to the controversy, all without torching them on air. So if Gary Nerdrotic's core argument against false flagging is that we stand for free speech and against deplatforming, why would you punish Chrissie for expressing a contrary take? See, what this boils down to is you can't speak or platform certain views on Gary's show because he stands for people speaking freely on platforms. Does anybody else see that the same crowd who decries cancel culture just ran the playbook on one of their own for being insufficiently kosher? Now, I've made it clear from the outset that I don't particularly care whether the Quartering was actually false flagging Kino Casino or other channels, and that's mostly because the obsession with that question misses the forest for the trees. What really should matter here is the mechanism that allowed those channels to be taken down in the first place. And why is it that nobody involved in this drama cares about YouTube's enforcement of ban evasion policies and the related reporting tools enough to do anything about that? You notice the speed and finality with which Kino Casino's presence was curtailed? Doesn't that just go to show that the platform itself has no interest in hosting that style of content? But instead of looking at the bigger picture, everyone looking at the drama has their nose buried in symptoms, not the disease. Instead of directing their energies toward the platform itself, the platform that holds real power in this case, much of the commentary you are listening to wants you fixated on punishing the Quartering. He's the villain of the week. It is classic transient drama where this week's outrage gets consumed like fast food, briefly satisfying and then discarded when the next cycle hits. And the audience and creators alike get their dopamine hit from picking sides in this ongoing chud war, or whatever we're calling it this month. All the while, underlying structures like YouTube's opaque moderation tools remain untouched. After all, why overhaul the system when you can just own the libs, or the grifters, or the insufficiently kosher allies instead? So let's enter FNT's crew handling of Chrissie Mayr. Note that Gary Nerdrotic has long positioned himself as a defender against false flagging and deplatforming, yet his response to Chrissie, who by all accounts didn't file any reports herself, but simply held a different opinion and booked the wrong guest on her show, was to sideline her. So apparently the message here is that you can have opinions, just not those opinions on our platform. So no, Chrissie, you can't speak or platform certain views here because we stand for free speech elsewhere. And I think all of this just exposes how much this is actually personal, it's tribal, it's not principled at all. If this were genuinely about free speech, the logical target in this entire scenario would not be Jeremy Hambley or Chrissie Mayr. It would be YouTube itself. The platform's entire architecture, from algorithmic suppression to its selective enforcement of community guidelines, is what actually removes voices. The Quartering's alleged involvement in false flagging is just a symptom. It is the platform's willingness to act that is the cause here. But see, here's the thing. You focus your energies on the Quartering, and that lets everyone avoid the real truth of the matter here, that many of these creators are far too embedded and far too comfortable within YouTube's ecosystem to ever seriously challenge anything. Leaving for Rumble or some other platform or building any alternative infrastructures would require sacrifices like audience drops or revenue hits or stepping outside this all too comfortable drama feedback loop. And so rather than fight YouTube, what they've done is they've elected to police the in-group and perform these faux principled stands against their fellow commentators through transient signaling and purity spirals. Nerdrotic, FNT, they're all cowards. They're all hypocrites. And whether Chrissie Mayr's firing was official or a mutual parting is besides the point here, because the optics are the same. Deviation from the approved approved script and the hot drama will get you sidelined. And even if you're someone who stands against the quartering for his false flagging, if that occurred, you need to recognize that treating him as the root problem distracts from the real one here. The platform decides who gets amplified, who gets memory hold, and all the creators who profit from the current setup have very little incentive to dismantle it. So ask yourselves, why have they elected to channel their frustrations and their audiences into these interpersonal beefs? Well, it should be abundantly clear that none of this is based in principle at all. All these people are really invested in is keeping the current content mill turning. And so the audience will consume the outrage slop, they'll participate in a moral crusade against some other content creator, and then they quickly move on when the next scandal drops. And this is why I don't trust Nerdrotic or anyone at FNT. All they've done here is encouraged a state of detachment from a far more substantive ethical reality, which is that YouTube currently functions this way, and they're not going to expend any amount of personal power to address that problem at all. And the worst part of this whole drama is that it all reinforces in the minds of their audiences that YouTube isn't made up of actual people. Instead, the platform is just going to be regarded as a neutral backdrop or a tool for these creators to wield. But you ought never forget that there are people involved, just like you or me. They are policymakers whose choices shape the content that we see every day. And treating the platform as an impersonal stage makes it easier for creators to ignore any personal accountability and to just continually focus on all this pointless drama. And remember, aren't these creators supposed to be analyzing pop culture and media? Aren't they supposed to be shining a light on all the propaganda and all the cultural rot? So what are they doing here? They're continually sidetracking onto these interpersonal beefs they have with other creators on the website. And functionally, what does this do? It all distracts you from the bigger picture. All you're focusing on is this stupid e-celebrity drama that keeps everyone locked in a pointless cycle. These people are not, and arguably never were, stepping stones to becoming noticers of the propaganda or of the woke cultural Marxism rife throughout media. Instead, they are high-functioning golems. They are gatekeepers, and their purpose right now is fully bent in staying algorithmically relevant on YouTube. That's it.